On this episode, I had the privilege to sit down and chat with Dr. Esther Ngotho. Dr. Ngotho is running to be mayor of Beverly, Massachusetts, which is really cool because that's the town I grew up in. And it's not every day someone who wants to be mayor of the town you grew up in hops on your podcast. I'm Jarrett Carpenter, and this is Wi-Fi and Water. Dr. Ngotho, welcome to Wi-Fi and Water. How are you doing?
Very fine, thank you.
Thank you for coming into my studio, which is my apartment. And let's cut right to the chase and talk about what you're doing. Right now you're running to be mayor of Beverly. How does that feel?
It feels very good. I'm able to continue doing something that is helpful to people. I have done a lot of work in my community. I've been here in this community for about 20 years. And I've seen the community change. When I came in, I think the community was like 98% white. It is now in the low 90s. That tells me that it is grown to include other people that were not there. But I do not see the administrators growing with it, so to speak. It looks like we need new ideas. We need new leadership. So I am happy to offer that.
Tell me about your story. What's the part of you that's going to allow you to be a great leader in Beverly?
Okay, first of all, my name, I am Dr. Esther Ngotho. I'm not a medical doctor, but I do have a doctorate in public health. I have several other degrees. I have a bachelor's in business administration, and I have taught business college students for 10 years. I also have a Bachelor of Science in nursing. I am an RN, and I have a master's in emergency and disaster management. I was born in Kenya about 50-something years ago, and I was born of a very hardworking woman who had 10 of us. So she taught me how to care, how to manage, and how to inspire people. And my father was a freedom fighter. So it seems like I was really prepared from a very young age to do what I'm doing now. Let me also tell you that I am a military mother. My daughter is a captain in the army. And I am a veteran mother. Her husband is a veteran Marine officer who is a policeman. He is white. So I'm a mother of a white son. And his father is chief of police of his own city. So you can see from my lineage, my associations, the people I associate with, all of us are in service for our communities. It's birds of the same feather flock together, I guess.
Definitely. And I have to say, I feel very humbled to be speaking with you. I was born in Colombia, and I was adopted. And so I was raised in Beverly as though I was Beverly's son, just like another kid in Beverly.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it only became apparent to me that I was essentially Colombian until I left Beverly. Mm-hmm. Because growing up in Beverly, I don't know, I was in a bubble. Just like every small town in the world, no matter where you go, it's kind of like a bubble. And so I was able to grow up there. And now seeing myself more as an immigrant, it's empowering to see you as an immigrant going to be mayor of Beverly. And so for that, I'm really happy to be here with you today. And how do you think being an immigrant makes you a better candidate?
Well, there are so many things that we have today that were discovered by immigrants. But let me tell you that I came here with my daughter in November of 2001. And we were running from a violent situation where we were tortured and we were almost lost our lives. My immigration story shapes my beliefs. And every single day, it is what actually prepares me to do what I do. I believe that story, one of the things that my immigration story has done for me, it has made me fairly flexible. For you to leave your own country, go to a totally new place you've never been to, and start calling those people your people, start calling that place your home. Something has to change. You have to really fix yourself in such a way that you start seeing every human being for who they are, and you start treating every unique story as such. The reason why I think I am best prepared to lead Beverly is because I know firsthand what it feels like to be a Black woman living in Beverly. I know firsthand what it feels like to be an immigrant in the U.S. I know firsthand what it feels like to work a low-wage job. And I also know firsthand how it feels like to climb the ladder from the bottom. So I am able to advocate for a lot of people who would otherwise fall through the cracks. I know what it takes to make real, long-lasting change.
When was the day that it was just so obvious to you that this is what you wanted to do, and this was kind of like the next step in your life's journey?
I have worked with various organizations. I have been a member of the Human Rights Committee of Beverly. I have, for a number of years, I have been a member of the Democratic Party. I have worked with Refugee Immigration Ministry. I have advised Beverly Bootstraps. I have worked with MAPLE. It's a nationwide organization called Massachusetts Alliance Against Predatory Letting. All those organizations mostly advocate for people. But the day that I knew something had shifted in my head and in my body is that day when I heard Trump mocking a disabled person. I know all I could do at that time was to cry. But I decided that, everybody, vulnerable people were in trouble. Disabled people, seniors, women, children, LGBTQ community. And I decided that I am going to run for our lives. But I didn't know exactly how or where I was going to run. But as things happened in my city, especially the things that I saw when I was in the Human Rights Committee, I knew that we needed to change the administration, because this administration has been in office for so long and they have lost touch with the values of the community. Things have changed and they've gone ahead of them. So we needed new ideas. And so that's kind of what brought me to the moment that I am in right now.
Thinking about those ideas, what's a new idea that you want to bring to the forefront that you're passionate about, maybe personally and professionally, that you want to see for Beverly?
Empowering vulnerable people. People like the seniors. Now, I think that we should help them by probably reserving parking spaces for them in Beverly. A senior or a disabled person shouldn't have to drive around in circles looking for an empty space in order for them to go and eat. So that is one of the things that I think we should do. And my other issue is as regards housing and environmental crisis. I started with vulnerable people because, believe it or not, racism and discrimination is the root cause of all the other problems. And if we could deal with that, I don't know how far we can go, but we can start. If we could deal with that, most of these other problems would solve themselves. So in Beverly, people that I know are moving out. A lot of people of color have moved out because they have said that they don't feel comfortable. I know LGBTQ people who I have met as I worked in Beverly who told me they do not feel comfortable living in Beverly. I know a young couple that got married when I started running, and they actually managed my social media, and they wanted to go out, but they said they are going to wait in case I become the mayor. So I know in Beverly, it is very hard to access affordable housing. So housing is not accessible, it's not affordable, and it's not available. So we have to look at the real cause of that and see how we can deal with it. Of course, I have ideas about how to deal with it, and we'll be talking about those in due course.
Would you like to share one now?
I think that we will definitely have to do upzoning and rezoning. And I think we'll have to relax some permits so that if you have a single family in a large lot and you want to turn your garage into living space, or you want to put up your in-law apartment so that some people can live in it, we should absolutely allow people to do that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I say that because I know I have many friends who live in different parts of the United States, and many of them have taken their parents' garage, and I think it's called the ADU, the Accessory Dwelling Unit, and they're able to make it into something that either they're able to live in because they can't afford housing and they have student debt, or they're able to then rent out to people who will benefit from that space, and then they get a little bit more extra income. I think the rezoning is something I've never even thought about in Beverly, but I think it's a phenomenal idea. And, you know, the thing about ideas that actually do change the world, they're going to scare you when you first think about them. And when you first said that, I was like, well, good luck with the zoning, Dr. Ngotho, because you're going to get a lot of pushback.
Yes.
These are things that have been, well, you know, this is the way we do things. And I think we're coming to a place in the world, and Beverly's part of the world, where we have to really start to think outside the box in order to make sure everyone is able to move forward in the same step, in an equitable manner. And thinking about housing, I think that is a wonderful place to start.
When I talk to people about rezoning and upzoning, that I'm going to get pushback. Now, let me tell you something. 70% of land in Beverly, maybe 70%, don't hold me too tight because I don't know it exactly, but a lot of land is zoned for single-family homes. And only a little tiny bit is zoned for high rises. So you can see that there's wasteful use of land. Very few people owning a lot of land. So when we allow them, and I know they will get scared, but we will allow them, if they want to host their mother or their daughters, you know, they can build an in-law apartment. There's something that I know as a teacher. People push back when they don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it. But when you explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it, then they can follow easily. There's also something else I know as a nurse. Sometimes you have to take the medication. And people don't like medication. It's really tough and bitter. And when I come to you, Jarrett, to give you medication, I give you a choice, but the choice I give you is, do you want to take your medication now or after 5 minutes? The thing is, you will take the medication, but I will let you decide when. And we can do the same with people. People like to be given choices, okay? So we can give choices to people while maintaining the principle. So I wanted to say that. And I wanted to say that the pushback usually comes when you just do things like crazy and you're not telling people what you're doing and you're not even talking to them. But as long as you're talking to them, as long as you're explaining yourself, people are good.
What's something, and I feel like this is an interview question, but I'm just interested.
Okay.
What's something that you think as mayor you're going to really have to spend a lot of time to communicate with what you're saying? You got to give people choices, but at the end of the day, ideally, your administration will say, hey, this is what we've heard from the citizens, and this is our solution to the problem the citizens have brought to us. But we still know it's going to need some really strong communication to make sure everyone's on the same page, because like you said, when you explain something to someone, you empower them and you bring them into the decision-making process. So what's something that you foresee when you're mayor, you're going to have to spend a lot of time talking to citizens about, talking to residents about, talking to other council members about, talking to small business owners about? Is there something that you would like to do that may be super ambitious aside from the zoning?
The other area that is really a problem is police.
In Beverly.
You know, police everywhere in the country. Because I am in a very unique position. Because my own son is a white policeman. And one time he saw me holding, I think that said, Defund police. And he called me and said, Mom, are you serious? Are you serious? You want me to lose my job? That was my son saying that. And I said to my son, but the police is executing black people. Now, look, we have to find a balance in this issue because we need the police and at the same time, we need them to stop doing bad things. So that is one area that I really have to sit down with the police and I have to tell them what I feel and what I think. They have to tell me what they feel and what they think, and we have to come up with a way to proceed.
Yeah, I think the defund the police movement is one that is often misunderstood.
Yes.
It is, I was talking with someone once about the Black Lives Matter movement, and I don't mean to call it a movement because to be fair, for some people it's a movement, for some people it's a way of life.
Yeah.
I am not black, so I can kind of come in and out of what is the movement, but for other people, that's walking down the street. The reason why I think it's, and I was talking to somebody about Black Lives Matter, and we were talking about that clearly a marketing background messaging person didn't come up with this. This is just what happened to have happened organically, that Black Lives Matter. And going forward with that, defund the police is the exact same thing. It's anything that really works in the United States, especially in political or social political stuff, is normally 3 words. Build the wall.
Okay.
Black Lives Matter, defund the police. And so defund the police is very interesting to me because it's so misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's just saying, why don't we reallocate? Why don't we stop and let's look at the budget and let's figure out where we're sending police to go do work that's probably not for them. That maybe we need a social worker. Maybe we need somebody who can come in and speak to someone's mental health. Maybe the other day I was riding my bike, as I do, and there was an accident, and there were 6 police cars, an ambulance, and a fire truck. And all I saw was a lot of tax dollars being put to probably not their best use, because the person that needed to be there, maybe just 1 police officer or a cruiser with 2 police officers, a fire truck, sure, maybe they need to be there. Maybe they have an EMT before the ambulance gets there, and so on and so forth. And so if you were to defund the police in Beverly, and I know that this is going to be a hot topic for people to hear, but if you were to defund the police, maybe it's more of a reallocation of funds. And so where would you take some of that money and invest it? Would it be in mental health? Would it be in other social services for people communities that maybe we need to protect? Would it be for something else entirely that you think would benefit the community? Where would you reallocate some funding?
Okay, let me start by saying that I refuse to be put in a box. I have decided not to be using the word deferred. It's not going to be anywhere in my vocabulary. Because what politicians have done, they've taken deferred, they've made a box out of it, and they want to put you in there or out of it, and you do not have a choice. So I'm not going to use the word deferred. The other thing that I can tell you, I am not ready to go into areas that I'm going to, that I would, like take money from and reallocate. Here's what I think I will do. If I am going to allocate money, I will sit with the police in my city and I will tell them, like what I told you, this is the medication. Do you want to take it now or do you want to take it later? So I will tell them, this is what I expect of the department. You, the people who work in that department, make it work.
So if you had the chance, when you're mayor, mm-hmm. and you have the chance to sit down with the Beverly Police Department, mm-hmm. some of the officers, mm-hmm. I don't know what the name of the head officer is, but mm-hmm. the leader of the Beverly Police, mm-hmm. what types of things are you going to say, and what's the messaging, and what's that conversation going to be about, taking into account the larger national context, which is one right now that unfortunately, as you said about defund the police, it puts people in one of two camps. Mm-hmm. You're either defund the police or you're fund the police. Mm-hmm. You're either Black Lives Matter or you're Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But you're saying, you know what? I have my foot in both camps because my son is a white police officer, yes. and I identify as a Black woman. So what does that conversation look like with the police department?
Let me say this here, that when there are riots and my son-in-law go out at the riots, my daughter usually is very worried, and she calls me. She says, Mom, I don't know what they are going to do to my husband. And the person we are talking about is my white son, okay? And the person who's telling me this is my Black daughter. So you can see, for me, there has to be a balance. We don't have a choice. There has to be a balance. I love my Black daughter as much as I love my white son, white police officer son. So I do believe that with the right people, if I work with the right people, I do believe we can strike a balance. And I learned when I was a teacher that the best people to implement a curriculum are the teachers. So, likewise, the best people to implement things with the police are the police. But I will absolutely, I don't know how yet I'm going to do this one, but I will demand responsibility, accountability, and transparency. In the recent times, I've come to sit down with individual police officers in Beverly. They are not as bad as I thought. They're really good.
I grew up with a couple of police officers in Beverly, and one of them is, a guy who we've known each other since we were kids. Mm-hmm. And I think that what you're talking about, having a white son-in-law and myself having one of my closer childhood friends who's in the Beverly Police Force, we often forget that police officers have families. Yeah. They have complicated lives. Mm-hmm. They are probably part of multiracial families, mm-hmm. families with a bunch of different walks of life. Yeah. And I think that often gets lost in the national rhetoric. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad, and it makes me really happy to see that you as a mayoral candidate for Beverly see that it's not black, it's not white. There's a lot of gray. Yeah. It's complex.
It's complex.
And that at the end of the day, accountability, responsibility, and transparency mm-hmm. are just going to make everything better.
Yes.
This is a question that is often asked of political candidates, and I always thought it was kind of weird when they asked this on CNN to presidential candidates, but now I'm on the other side of the mic and it seems quasi-reasonable. But it's day one. It's November 3rd. You're mayor of Beverly. What happens that day?
As the time goes and this campaign becomes a reality, I am at the same time thinking about what my team is going to look like and what are the resources, what tools I am going to need. Because, the thing about learning and reading a lot of things, you get to know how you can deal with some problems. And I really like the story of the early explorers from Spain. There are two of them who set out, and they were going to the Far East to look for spices. So they did not have a map. They had no map because nobody had been there. They had poor information, which is what I have. I don't know whether you have tried to look at the budget that is online for Beverly. You can't tell a thing. You can't tell what it is. It doesn't tell you anything. It's very poor information. So I have poor information, and I probably don't have a map because I have not been there before. But here's what I know. These sailors, there were two boats. The person who was heading this sail got his brother to be captain of the other boat. And then in these boats, they put people that they trusted, and they also put their supplies, and they set sail without knowing where they are going because they had no maps. So they sailed, and in the process, one boat capsized, but they had one. And they ended up not in the Far East, but discovering something that is even better than the Far East, which was the Americas. And this is my attitude. So I'm going to find the right team, because with the right team, there's nothing you cannot do. And I'm going to find the tools. And on the first day, I'm going to set sail. Don't ask me where I will go, but I can assure you I might discover something better than the Far East.
Really quick, if you had to give your elevator speech about why you should be mayor, what is it?
I think I should be mayor because I can think out of the box. And if I have 2 minutes, I'll tell you a very short story to explain, what I'll do. So I am driving on a very stormy day. My car can only carry one person. And I come to the bus station. There are 3 people there. There's a very old woman who looks like she's going to die in a minute. There's a man who looks like the man of my dreams, like the one I've been looking for. And there is another gentleman who saved my life. And I can only carry one person in my car. So who am I going to carry? I'm going to come down, give the friend who saved my life the car keys, ask him to take the old woman with him, and I remain with the man of my dreams, waiting for the bus. In other words, I will use the scarce resources to make sure that every single person benefits from those resources.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngotho, for joining me here. And just really quickly, do you want to share with us where people can find information? This will, on Instagram, I'll be sure to tag you on the post, but where can people find more information about your campaign and volunteer?
Yes, I really need support. I need donations. The people who I'm running against have a lot of money. I need donations. I need volunteers. So everybody who is willing to join I will call this not my campaign, but my movement, our movement. The people who are willing to join our movement should go to our website, estherforbeverly.com, and there they can see more about myself, about issues, and there's a button there that says donate. And if you leave us a message, if you want a loan sign, or you want to know something, or you just want to meet us, or you just want to encourage us, you can leave us a message and we are going to respond within 24 hours. You can also find us on Facebook, Esther for Beverly Mayor. And I've had people ask me, why am I saying Esther for Beverly? I should be saying Esther of running to be mayor of Beverly. No, I'm running for Beverly. I am from Beverly. I am running for Beverly. I am committed to Beverly.
Thanks so much for joining the pod, and I wish you so much good luck in this campaign season.
Thank you so much. Very nice to meet you. Very nice to be with you today.
Thanks for listening to this episode, and be sure to check out estherforbeverly.com. There you'll find volunteer and donation opportunities, as well as be able to read up more on Dr. Ngotho's story. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Wifi Water Podcast, and no matter where you're listening to the pod, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.